Within the national macroeconomic landscape, the sneaker industry plays a crucial role in explaining current economic trends within the US. This video will help explain the industry's impact on consumer spending, gross domestic product or GDP, and employment. We will also dive into current and historic statistics surrounding the footwear industry and use them to try and see where the industry and the employees who work there are headed. Sneakers are becoming a larger part of American spending. The average price for a pair in July 2023 was $130, which is $8.45 higher than January of the same year. This was an increase of 6.5% in just 7 months. Sneakers are also a large industry that is continuing to grow. Revenue in the sneaker segment of the U.S. in 2023 was $23.4 billion, and the market is expected to grow by 4.52% annually. Within the sneaker market, there are many different competitors. Nike and Jordan share the most global market share with 18% and 11%, respectively. The next three closest competitors are Adidas, Skechers, and Vans, with a 9%, 7%, and 7% global market share, respectively. It is clear Nike has a dominant lead in the market for sneakers, which makes it a great company to examine its operations. Nike offers many different types of sneakers, most of which are just different styles and colors of general releases anyone can go to the store and buy. Where Nike controls the market is with their strategic marketing releases and techniques. They have extremely limited releases, which are generally not available to the public because they are done online. But why would making the releases online make the shoes unavailable to the public? Online releases do not work for average buyers because they are bought instantly by resellers with bots. Bots are programs that resellers use to automate the checkout process of buying sneakers. These limited releases are not because Nike cannot supply the demand of customers, but because they want to keep demand for their sneakers high and leverage envious customers to buy the next release. A specific example of this can be seen with the release of the 2013 What the LeBron 10, which was released in extremely limited quantities and sold out instantly. The next year when the What the LeBron 11 released, people rushed to the stores to buy the shoes, only to find out later that the shoe had had a large-scale release. Unsatisfied customers in this instance were buyers of the next release. Sneaker companies like Nike and Adidas can also use celebrities to increase demand for their shoes. Kanye West has collaborated with both companies and was a large part of their revenues. When he and Adidas first partnered in 2015, the $350 Yeezy 350 Boost sold out in minutes. This allowed Adidas to capitalize on customers who missed out on the first release and attract them to later releases just like Nike without having to cut the quantity sold down as much. The celebrity-boosted revenue and demand is really highlighted when looking at Adidas' net income following the termination of West's contract in October 2022. This termination had a negative impact on net income for that year of up to $311 million. Celebrities can obviously be a huge revenue booster for these companies, and it's clear to see why there are so many examples of celebrity shoe endorsements. Nike alone endorses a range of celebrities that vary from sports stars like LeBron James to collaborations with artists like Virgil Abloh and even video game systems such as PlayStation. The resale market is much different than the large-scale structure of the major corporations making and producing the sneakers. While the resale industry creates a problem by adding to the underground economy, there are large corporations taking advantage of the limited quantities as well. One example of this is a site called StockX. StockX had $3.8 billion in revenue in 2022 and has had over 6.5 million lifetime users. StockX has become the Wall Street of the resale market. This is due to its live marketplace where buyers can post bids and sellers can place asks on sneakers that can be verified as real. Fake sneakers are an issue for sneaker buyers that is again created by the small supply of the most wanted shoes. It's so bad that just one bust in 2016 led to finding $2.6 million of fake sneakers imported from China. But how does the sneaker industry impact the economy as a whole? Gross domestic product, or GDP, is a tool that is used to measure a country's total production and economic strength. Shoes being a large industry within the United States makes them a large contributor to the country's GDP. When analyzing shoes' contribution to the GDP, 4 critical sectors must be investigated: consumption, investment, government purchases, and net exports. The shoe industry affects each of these sectors in their own unique way, all tying into the GDP. When analyzing consumption in the market, one of the best metrics to look at is the personal consumption expenditures, or better known as PCE. PCE represents total household spending on goods and services like rent, food, clothing, and electronics. One of the sectors that is tracked by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is clothing and footwear. This data helps show what consumers are spending on clothing and footwear each quarter. It is also a great indicator of inflation, what types of goods people buy, and how much they are willing to pay for them. The PCE data for clothing and footwear shows many of these phenomena. Using the COVID-19 pandemic as an example, there is a clear drop in PCE. This helps explain the buying power of consumers and how they will choose to buy things in need in times of crisis. PCE can also play a crucial role in influencing hiring and investment decisions. When personal consumption expenditures affect other sectors of the GDP like hiring and investing, it is essential to understand what the ups and downs mean in the context of inflation and other factors. For inflation, one way to see the true impact of PCE is to compare the growth of PCE in the footwear and clothing industry with the growth of PCE in all industries. This can help distinguish if consumption of footwear is inflated at a similar rate as other goods, or if prices have had to cease due to inflation of other goods consumers need more. Starting from the lowest point in the pandemic, the average rise in dollars spent from Q3 2020 to Q4 2023 increased by 2.09 quarterly for PCE and 2.24 quarterly for clothing and footwear PCE. These values are very close, but still include some outliers caused by the pandemic. If this data range is filtered down a bit to only include values from 2022 on, it is a 1.58% increase for PCE and a 0.89% increase for clothing and footwear PCE. This PCE activity shows consumers are spending more money on other goods and services than clothing and footwear. With PCE increasing by 2.09% on average since Q3 2020, consumers are going to have less to spend on things today than they would have in the past. As prices rise on all items, consumer spending on the luxury items such as clothing or footwear slows down, and price becomes the main decision in spending. This explains why the prices and spending on items like shoes and clothing would not be able to increase with the inflated PCE encompassing all goods and services. This can be seen further when we look at the PCE versus the PCE for just non-durable goods, which footwear falls into. As PCE rapidly grows through 2024, PCE for non-durable goods tapers down as consumers spend their money on the higher priced goods they need more than just shoes and clothing. Businesses were forced into making a lot of tough decisions during the pandemic. People were not able to come into stores, and businesses needed to find a way to still make sales to their customers. This is where major technological improvements were made to improve online sales. Contactless pickup and shipping options were added to allow revenue to continue flowing. Investments companies made to improve online infrastructure helped add to the GDP. Many might be questioning how all this investment was able to happen in the middle of a recession. To get to this answer, we run into another crucial player in the GDP, government purchases. In 2020, the United States government paid out over $817 billion to Americans through stimulus checks. These checks were provided in the hopes of avoiding an economic collapse by providing consumers with money to help boost the economy. The true effect of the stimulus checks can be seen when looking at the retail sale data for shoe stores. Sales were at their lowest point since 1992 in April 2020. Stimulus checks were first given out in April 2020, and there was a 340% increase in sales from April to May and a 186% increase from May to June. This is what allowed the shoe and clothing businesses the ability to adapt and innovate during the unusual circumstances the pandemic brought. This also increased the consumption of shoes and other non-durable goods, making them a large part of the GDP following the pandemic. The sneaker industry also has a large role in net exports. Net exports are found by subtracting imports from the number of exports. A positive value indicates the country is a net exporter, and a negative value means they're a net importer. These numbers are important because it is helpful to national GDP if the country is an exporter. For shoes, imports far outweigh exports. Between 2017 and 2021, imports averaged a value of $25.4 billion, while exports averaged a value of only $1.3 billion. This means companies in the U.S. primarily relied on foreign countries for their production. This activity of importing goods does not help contribute to the national GDP and also has negative side effects that can be unseen. The factories people work in can be very unsafe, toxic chemicals are not properly regulated, and the workers are not treated fairly. Nike and Reebok are two examples of companies that exploit this foreign labor from China to save money on production costs. Employment is also a vital metric to analyze when examining the footwear sector because even though the industry is seeing growth, it doesn't necessarily mean employment is rising. Employment within the footwear industry has experienced many changes just between 1990 and today. To properly examine employment across the footwear industry, the first step to take is examining employment stability. This includes factors such as job turnover, seasonal variations in employment, and the workforce demographic. Within the U.S. footwear industry, there are two sectors that can be focused on: manufacturing and retail trade. Manufacturing employment statistics won't be analyzed because, as stated, it is a minuscule part of the U.S. footwear industry. Not only are 99% of the shoes sold in the U.S. imported, but the U.S. imported 2.7 billion pairs of shoes in 2022 compared to the 25 million pairs manufactured in the borders. This means that the U.S. imports 108 times more shoes than it manufactures. Year over year turnover for the retail sector was 75.8% in 2022, which was a 7.8% increase from 2021. This means that in a given year, 75.8% of retail employees will join and leave the place that they work. This high turnover rate relates to the seasonal variations that come with retail employment. This seasonal variation comes because companies in the retail industry hire more workers between November and December. Employment is expected to increase by 2% between October and November and 4% between November and December annually. Retail sales is the second most impacted sector by seasonality, falling just behind construction in 2018. The demographics of the retail sales industry are important because they explain who makes up the workforce. Retail workers are mostly people ages 16 to 34, less likely to have a bachelor's degree, and are more likely to be living in poverty. These statistics show that jobs in retail in general do not require a degree and are not paying as well, hence why a higher percentage of employees are living in poverty. If we look further into payroll data or hourly wages throughout the footwear industry, it helps explain these demographics further. The average hourly earnings of all employees across the United States in April 2024 was $34.75 per hour. This compares drastically to employees within the retail trade, who were only earning an average of $24.35 per hour in April of 2024. These low wages can be another factor that contributes to the extremely high turnover rate. Companies that offer higher or efficiency wages can boost their employee retention while fighting poverty and simultaneously improving quality of life for their employees. Historic and current employment trends can help us understand what is happening now and give us insights from the past. Within the graph shown on screen, we can see employment stay steady between 1990 and 2002, averaging about 1.31 million employees. Total employment then increased from 2002 to 2007, peaking between November and December 2007 with an average of 1.56 million employees. The 2008 recession is where the first large drop in employment level happened. After the recession, instead of growth like seen between 2002 and 2007, employment again came to a standstill, averaging 1.4 million employees between 2009 and 2019, similar to the average between 1990 and 2002. 2020 is when the largest decrease in employment happens, dropping by a staggering 56% from just March to April 2020. Employment recovered quickly from this temporary low, but did not recover to the same levels that it saw in the past. Employment in the footwear industry averaged 1.13 million employees between 2021 and April 2024. This is a 23.6% decrease from the average between employment levels seen between 1990 and 2002 and 2009 and 2019. Given the trend seen within the footwear employment data, there are now two essential questions that must be addressed. Why did employment not see growth after the 2008 recession? And why was there a 23.6% decrease in the number of people employed after the COVID-19 recession? To find this answer, we must start by looking at the structural unemployment caused by the Great Recession. Companies were hit hard by the recession, and one leading theory as to why structural unemployment prevailed during this time is because businesses were working quickly to innovate technology and went to foreign producers like China to improve costs. This could not be truer for the footwear industry, where 59.3% of all imports come from China. This activity, however, puts people out of jobs because there is no longer a place for them. For the 2020 recession, there was an exceptionally large decrease in jobs. This first sharp decrease in employment was cyclical unemployment because there was a downturn in all markets due to stores closing. But these numbers recovered quickly as businesses reopened. Employee demographics play a crucial role in the cyclical unemployment in the footwear industry seen during this time because the pandemic disproportionately affected low-skilled workers. This is substantial because that is the main demographic within the retail industry. Unlike other employees in different industries, low-skilled workers often did not have the opportunity to telework remotely. The structural unemployment of COVID will take a bit longer to see its full effects, but there are workers across the footwear sector seeing the effects of it already. One major player in the structural unemployment within the footwear industry following the pandemic was the increased investment by companies into online retailing. Companies had to innovate quickly and invest into boosting their online retailing to keep revenue up while their in-store shops temporarily closed. This in turn created a skill gap between what shoe companies needed and what employees had to offer. Companies with increased online sales did not have to keep as many stores open to keep up with revenue after the pandemic. Again, looking into shoe sales data, in 2017, sales averaged $3.03 billion. Between 2022 and February 2024, they averaged just over $3.33 billion in sales. This increase in sales on the surface looks great, but when we put this growth into the context of inflation from 2017, things look much different. While sales increased by 9.9% between the period January 2022 to February 2024 from 2017 sales, the inflation of the dollar from January 2017 to February 2024 was 28%. This means that shoe sales are not keeping up with the rate of inflation, and with only a 9.9% increase from 2017, the quantity of shoes sold has to be down for it to be that much under inflation. This is why large shoe retailers are closing stores and in turn letting go of employees. One notable example of this activity is Foot Locker, a large retailer of shoes who is expected to close 400 stores by 2026 to save costs. With all the information gathered, we can make an educated guess about the future of employment within the retail sector. The turnover rate is already growing and will continue to get worse until firms find a way to raise wages or improve working conditions to encourage employees. Sales data also shows that it is currently unable to keep up with the rate of inflation. Due to the reduced amount of sales, companies will continue to shut down low-performing locations to reduce costs, along with allocating those saved costs towards investing into online retailing. This activity has already greatly affected footwear retail employment, cutting it down by 23.6% on levels seen in the 1990s through the 2010s. Since firms are so heavily invested into online retailing after the pandemic, they're not going to be able to pump more money back into in-store retailing when they are not experiencing similar revenue based on trends they had in the past. Future employment levels will be hard to raise due to all these stated factors and will slowly decrease moving forward as retailers get ready to expand their online reach and close stores they believe are underperforming. When concluding footwear's impact on the macroeconomic landscape, it is important to analyze its impact on GDP and the external events happening in the industry. The industry is slightly adding to the GDP with increased sales, but these sales increases are not keeping up with inflation. And as inflation increases, the amount of consumption on non-durable goods such as sneakers will decrease. This is putting sneaker companies in a tough position and is why companies are closing their stores and investing into online retailing to try and keep up with sales volume seen in the past. Online retailing is great for the companies involved, but not for the employees who work within the retail stores. They are also hurting the GDP within the US by the number of imports they are bringing in. When 99% of the shoes sold in the country are imported from foreign countries, is going to take away from the amount of manufacturing opportunities for workers. While the footwear sector is a large player in the country's growth, GDP, and employment, its impact will only get smaller as companies look more to foreign countries for cheap labor and close stores to save costs. Thank you all so much for watching. Keep these ideas in mind the next time you want to buy sneakers online and skip the wait to go to the store. Our consumption decisions impact more lives than we can ever comprehend.